Yeah, dear Thomas Schäfer, dear colleagues, dear teams of the IMD and Little Bit, and dear alls, I'd like to thank so much Dr. Schäfer, dear Thomas, for the invitation. It's a privilege, particular privilege to reflect with all of you about compositional topics here another time in this great institution. And I'd like to make aware today of this topic about it's about the echoography of the disappearance as a potential eschatological trace, and it's about a piece Hey 2, Hey 2 for 24 singers, 6 quartet, vocal quartet, and electronics. And I'll make aware about these 5 points. It's about the compositional transitional spaces. It's about the Zwischenräume. And it's about the metaphysical transitional time spaces as trace of disappearance, and about the existential transitional time spaces in traces of the disappearance, about parametrical transitional spaces, time spaces of trace of disappearance, about the morphological transitional time space of traces as traces of disappearance, and as fifths as unstable. It's about the sound time typologies as unstable, compositional transitional time spaces. Here, about the approach of the piece and regarding the pragmatic of the metaphysical transitional time spaces as traces of disappearance. It was the approach was to go to Jerusalem, to the Grabeskirche, to the Holy Sepulchre, and make ecography of the rooms, of the spaces of this church, and it's in a way not only one but many church on 4 level. And we decided to echoography these rooms here, this one, and also here another space. I mean, ecography, it comes from the acoustic. It's impulse resonance. So you impulse the room, the space, with acoustical impulse, or with a sweep with electronic glissando from 20 bis 20,000 hertz, summa summarum, and record the responses of the room. And the second point is about the acoustical transitional time spaces as traces of the disappearance. And here you have some photos of the setup. We were here with Joachim Haas of SWR Studio, and we decided with 8-channel recording to record the responses with 8 mics, 8 channel. So to be able to investigate from these 8 perspectives the signals and let's say the signatures of the acoustic signatures of this room. Here there are some, I will not detail so much, but some elements about the text typology. It's Jesus, and you see there is 3 fragments of the Gospel in John and Lucas, and about a fragment of the book by Jean-Luc Nancy, Noli Me Tangere. And it's about all these fragments are about the topic of disappearance, which seems to be in the Gospel a very one of the very central topic from theological point of view, and we will go back to this problematic. Here it was some let's say sketches about the deployment of the text. I was asking, making text Schatten means text shadows of this text as to be projected. Here is a typology of all the made recordings. The third point is about the parametrical transitional time spaces as traces of the disappearance. And here it's all on this line. You have this is a time axis, and here a frequency axis, and all of these frames are here attack resonance, impulse resonance, and that we can that all we made, because we had to we did it during 2 nights. We had the permission of the 6 church groups to make this attack resonances during the room. It was a very big privilege that and I'm very thankful, of course, for this possibility from the 6th group of Christians, but also from the Goethe Institute in Tel Aviv, who helped us very much for this project. And here I show you, let's say, a processing with the sonogram. So you have the attack, and the resonance was recorded, and you see here the spectral shape of the FFT analysis of the responses of the acoustic, and let's say here a pitch analysis of the software for kids, as, let's say, with this parametrical issues here that you see. So that's, that is about the method here. So the attack impulse responses, were recorded. They were investigated with the perspective of the FFT analysis with 2 softwares, with AudioSculpt and here with Orchid. At this time I was working more with AudioSculpt. That was the issue, because the idea, and I would like to make aware of that, is not about telling it's about the truth as searching for truth as investigation. No, but it's searching for a reasonable method to get pitch material, to gauge typology of pitch material, typologies of time, sound, action material regarding to harmonicity, disharmonicity, inharmonicity, and noises. And these 3 main families here, with a lot of sub-families or sub-elements, layers, are the resulting of this investigation with this material. Here it's another let's say, traces with it more about the formant structure of the of one attack resonance here. And it's in the main church. As I remember, it was in the center of the description of the Holy Sepulchre of the church. So then, yes, I'll see you now. The pitch resulting the pitch I got it was, and it seems to me that the Holy Sepulchre seems to have a fundamental is a here, and I was selecting the most pregnant formant to deploy them in this piece, because then I think minimum there is not so much pitches in the piece, but they are all becoming of this type of investigation with a method, and I would say is immerhin with the method. And so then we come, of course, because we are not, it's about spectral marking signatures, it's about also formantic signatures, then it's about also pitch with deviations. Means that, and not only quarter tone, 8th tone or whatever, so it's about scent deviations. So for my antennas, I'm not able to work with singers and ask somebody, please sync a D or a pitch with minus 12, 17 cents, I cannot control it. I confess this weakness, but then I said what I can propose to make sync these pitches, this analytical formantic as pitches with a vocal ensemble. Yeah, I could propose to listen this with sinus sound, these pitches before, and propose the singers to make it mimetically, to sing it mimetically. And you see here the pitches with the deviation, minus X cent, whatever. And it was something I had the privilege to, let's say, to develop with the SWR Vocal Ensemble in Stuttgart, with a fantastic ensemble, and I'm very thankful for that also, and in SWR Studio also. And it seems it has been very well accepted for the singers, because they could reasonably sing micro intervals by mimetically hearing before the sinus sound from the sampler, and not saying, okay, now I sing a D with minus 21 cent, which they would not have been to control, and which I would not have been also to control. So that was the issue, and therefore for me also the deployment of sinus sound in the piece is the most harmonical sound type of the harmonical sound layer, and I would like to make aware of that. Here it's again, I show some schedules here. I just make aware also that all these pitches, they are most of the time in motions, like where in the cross motion. Of course, it has a metaphorical issue here. And here is about the Faltung convolution strategy, because in the piece is there is files in let's say not real-time files, prepared files that they are played, like tapes we would have said in the old time, and there are also very few, but they are real-time processing, and this real-time processing, they are convolution. The fingers are making an impulse, or they are thinking, and is waiting in the computer response, and this response is most of the time the response we recorded in Jerusalem. It's a type of reverb, but a particular reverb. And we will hear some example of that. But this was about a lot of trying out with a lot of passions, a lot of time, and I'm also very thankful the team of Freiburg and Joachim Haas, Michael Hacker for this particular precise working. So here you see was some investigation of various vocal structures here that you see the intensity evolution. You see the spectral marking of all these vocals that I deploy here, and it was also important for me to investigate. Here is a scale about the let's say approximative dynamic regarding the balance of the live actions by the singers, of the live amplification and the electronics in real time and not in real time with the files. And it was also something to reflect, also because of the setup, which is 8 channel setup. And here is about the fourth point, and it's about the morphological transitional time space as traces of the disappearance. I make you aware of us about this type of interpolation into the piece here. Is page 17, that you have these pitches here coming out from this strategy of FFT analyze of the response of the acoustic of the church, of the Holy Sepulchre, and they are interpolated with some sound of not of the noisy sound layers. So it means that it has this time of transitional spaces, transitional time spaces, excuse me, between time and sound layers. And here's the sound layer of the harmonicity with these pitches, if you want, with micro-intervallic deviations, and on the other hand, with noisy sound types. And I would like to make you aware that if we are here with harmonical, with a pitch, let's say, in a scale with micro-intervallic deviations, we are on the other hand in the noisy layers. We have to deal with micro Klangfarben. And which is also a scale, and it's not about minus etwas or minus plus cent. It's about, is it the sound gestalt, the sound morphology? Is it clear? Is it dark, hell, dunkel? Is it smooth? Is it perforiert? Is it granuliert? Is it and whatever? And all the potential interpolation between these morphologies, with linearity, without linearity, with stability, and or with instability. And it's also something I was here dealing with this element here. And then I would make you aware about this element here, this various type of convolution between concrete harmonical sound situation, concrete inharmonical sound situation. So you see all this possible, let's say, permutation situation of convolution, and it's here in the map as typology, but they have all to have been tested. Is not something I could decide without testing and hearing. And then the decision is to select this one or the other one is selected with my antennas of composer. Here, let's have a look about the setup. Is, as you see, on stage, one sampler, two vocal ensemble and 4 vocal ensemble around the regie in the middle, and you have 8 loudspeakers. So you see that. And here, the beginning. I'd like to make you listen of the beginning of the piece now, and the deployment of canonical structures with type of noisy dust about the analyze made with the FFT analysis, and it on the name of Jesus. Well, and you see that it will be, you remember the set, the disposition of the solist and of the electronic, and it will be about also the deployment of motions, slow motions, by the way. that was the beginning of the piece with the vocal ensemble SWR of Stuttgart, and with Mr. Markus Kritt in the experimental studio. So here I show you quickly the evolution. You see evolution of the score is really canonical. Then another issue, we are much later in the piece as second and last example. Now it is about all the pitch we hear. Now we heard three pitches: A as 8th partial, D as 7th partial with the deviations, microintervallic, and B as 11th partial. Then you heard the deviations, and you heard also before that it was given by the sinus, by the keyboard. But as very integrated, not integrated, it means integrated in a scale, in an interpolation of harmonical sounds. And it's not only a pragmatic solution, it was also at the end a pragmatic solution, but it was integrated in a sound typology strategy regarding the pitches, the harmonical sounds, but also all the noisy sounds that you heard with all such kind of things. And here we hear this resulting, it will be convolved, I mean the analyze of the responses of the acoustic of the church as analyzed, as pitched, introduced in the vocal ensemble, and resent as convolution in the acoustic of the church. And you will hear the result of this convolution now, and with various type of amplitude modulations, means beatings per hertz. And we hear that short example. It's here. And yes, I would like to make you aware again that all the sound pitches, all the pitches which were sung by the ensemble are the result of the analyze of these acoustics, of these responses, and they are as not more as response, but as now as impulse. They are sent in the same acoustic, waiting in the computer as response, to make a convolution, and it's opening a transitional time space from a structural point of view, and with the highest level of musical but also structural instability and fragility. That's the other elements. Here I don't want to take too much time to but you have this example that we heard here in this patch here with the fingers here. On the left, we have in the middle with the altiverb, that means the convolution tool, and the modulation, amplitude modulation strategy. So here you see there is with all the patches that I will not here details, but they are like here a bit more complex one. They are all composed. And I'd like to finish now. It's about now fifth and last point about the sound time typology as the most unstable and compositional transitional time spaces. And what is it about? It's about the deployment of these scales of time layers. Is it time metrical, chronometrical, morphological, vocal, idiomatical? Is about the same strategy with the sound typology. Is the sound harmonical with the highest level of harmonicity, as we have seen here with the sinus sound, but also with the vocal one? Or is it more in a tendency to inharmonicity or to noise, and with all, as I tried to protocolate here, with all these various types? Is the sound smooth? Is the sound tendentially granulated, extremely granulated, less granulated? Is it perforated or less perforated? Is it clear? Is it dark? So it's all this, and I would say that between all this scale, in this scale, between all these steps, there is a transitional space. And all the purpose of this piece was to search for this compositional, transitional time, sound, and spaces, to let them deployed and to let them observed with a method, with many methods. So here you can find this recording here if you wish. And I would like to, because we were speaking of music in process of disappearance, letting observed a music in process of the disappearance. It has, of course, here, it's about compositional strategy, it's about compositional issues. It's one point, but it's also, it has, let's say, theological, metaphysical dimension. And I would like to make you aware of this quoting here by Lucas. You know, it's about this Emmaus dinner, if you want, and I make you aware that as their eyes were opened, I quote, and they recognize him that is resurrected, and they say, and he disappeared. It means that the disappearance here in the gospel, in Emmaus, but in other time, or in the Noli Me Tangere episode, is not something negatively, psychologically impacted. It is a transitional space. It's the most unstable, the most fragile, the most sensible, but with deploying proportionally inverse, the most intense energy. And it was all the search, all the challenge of the piece here, to search for this time-space transitional, compositional elements with, yes, a metaphysical and theological dimensions, and hopefully may I could have succeed to let it deployed and let it observed. Voilà, thank you for your attention.